I think this is what I've heard accurately, but doesn't Japan not vaccinate until the age of 2? And haven't they seen huge reductions in like SIDS rates and stuff like that, or is that?
Yeah, I don't know, but
Okay.
the truth is, first of all, the baby is protected from childhood diseases to a much larger degree than the vaccines can ever protect it by drinking mother's milk.
Right.
And we know that by using cold processed colostrum, the immunity can easily be continued in a child until 2-3 years of age. And we know that if the vaccines are done after the completed second year of life, that there is far less damage to the vaccine and far more benefit from it. Because now the Th1 immune system, the cellular immune system, has developed properly, and it won't regress when it gets vaccinated now. It will maintain its strength. And so I do feel there's going to be a wiser way of doing this in the future. And vaccines have been good for the whole. It's great
Herd
that
immunity.
we grew up without polio. I'm grateful for that. It's good for the whole, but it's bad for the individual. Yeah? So, and there is a conflict, and other issues involve, for example, the polio vaccine until fairly recently was contaminated with a virus that is a very, very strong cancer-inducing virus, the SV40 virus that I have, everyone in my generation has, as one of the most strongest inducer of cancer, and it was given to us with the polio vaccine. And when that became known, about 30 years ago, one should have thought that the governments all over the world would have insisted to clean up the vaccine, to create a vaccine without it. But it took another 20 or 30 years before that was done. And so there's again an element of evil, of darkness in there that comes in through politics and greed that has made this issue so difficult to deal with. So on one hand, as a physician, I need to be careful how I advise my patients and not completely poo-poo the idea of the vaccines. On the other hand, I have to say, as a human being, the politics involved is so dirty and so unscientific and so bad that I also have to speak up in that regard.
But you can also say that a child would be fine without any vaccinations.
Well, when you don't vaccinate, it comes with a certain responsibility. For example, if the children get measles, we treat measles by giving high doses of vitamin A for a few days, and by using good homeopathy to early on recognize the illnesses and treat them appropriately. Children in good nutritional status, when they get the common childhood diseases like chickenpox or so, they're mild illnesses that last for a few days and completely not dangerous to the system. Mumps takes a very easy course in a well-nourished child. But if the child is eaten all the foods that it's allergic to and doesn't have enough green vegetables, folic acid, vitamins and so in his nutrition, and that child gets mumps, yes, it may destroy the testicles or the pancreas to a degree, and the child may develop diabetes afterwards. And so not vaccinating comes with a certain responsibility to address the lifestyle and the other issues and raise the child healthily. And I've seen only one case in my medical career of tetanus, but it's not a nice illness. And so it comes with, when the child has an injury, to clean up the wound, to put iodine in it, to whatever, we use ozone to put the foot, like step in a plastic bag, put ozone in there. So it comes with a certain obligation to take care of the things that we see in other ways. You can't just kind of not vaccinate and sort of say, this is my treatment now. It may work out well, most likely it will. But really, because of, in a way, to answer this question more honestly, the reason I can afford not to vaccinate my kid is because all the other kids are vaccinated. Because of that, it stopped the spread of these illnesses, that my child is very protected from it. And so I owe thanks to all the other kids that have been vaccinated. And of course, you have to put that in relationship, and so on the long run it's not sustainable. If we all stop vaccinating, then my child no longer is protected, and then these issues become much more pressing. So we, as a society, we need to develop to a style of vaccination, first of all a calendar of vaccination that is safe for the kid and goes together with the science on the immune system. Then we need to choose the place that we vaccinate. It needs to be the place where the actual exposure is. You know, we don't get measles by injecting measles in us. We get measles because it's in the air, we breathe it in, and the measles vaccine should go on the mucous membranes where the exposure actually is. You know, so that's number two, and then thirdly, it should be vaccines that are free of contaminants. You know, and that is completely possible right now to do, but it's not done. And the industry is lying to us, the politicians are lying to us, and until that's solved, I tell my patients, this is what my opinion is, and I'd much rather deal with a case of difficult measles in a mom than with a child that has autism because they got vaccinated. So, you know, as a physician, I'm very clear, because I'm responsible for this child and this mom, not for the whole.
A couple of other just really quick things for people that do choose to vaccinate. Number one, never take Tylenol, and you can speak to why at the time of a vaccine.
Or aspirin.
And never
Yeah.
when they're sick.
Yes, yes. So there's a large body of evidence, you know, that when first of all, when a child is vaccinated while it's sick, it's a very bad idea. The immune system needs to be as good as it can be at the moment of vaccination. And secondly, both Tylenol and aspirin have been applied with very severe neurological illnesses and other problems that have developed from the vaccine when it was given in the presence of Tylenol or aspirin. I think I'll leave it there for our discussion here. Okay, so this pretty much now completes my discussion of the exposures that moms and dads have to be aware of and have to minimize and seek solutions for before anything happens. This is, of course, our goal is prevention. It is not how to fix autism once it's there, but how to prevent it. But also, if a child has become autistic, you have to do your book backwards and look at what were these exposures that were there. And if you don't resolve them to start with, your chances of getting the child well are very minimal. If you're still living in a moldy home,
No.
you have no chance. I know, but you have no chance. If you're still in the same electromagnetic environment, maybe one more word on the electromagnetics. Heavy metals in the body, like mercury deposits, work like a micro antenna that concentrates the electromagnetic field into the body.
Just really quick on that note, we had from Stetzer Electric, where you can get those little things that block some of the electromagnetic field. They also have something you plug into the wall that will tell you how high the EMF is. And I got it, and I took it over, and it was hot everywhere. And then near my son, it was hot against the wall, and then it was not hot, and then it was hot, meaning a higher number, a really high number. As I got close to his stomach, it was really high, and then it was kind of low, up through his shoulders and chest, and then on his head it was really high. I was shocked, and then, so I experimented with the Magnetico sleep pad to see, well, I wonder what, it's completely dead. Completely no EMF at all around that mat. I was really surprised.
Do you cut your fuses off at night?
I do. We actually had an electrician for about $200 come and put a little switch just underneath the light switch that we just turn it off and it deadens the whole.
Yeah.
That's what I would suggest.
It's
We'll probably
called
have
the
to.
Yeah, it's called the demand switch. Yeah, it's
Well,
a one
so-
central switch that deadens the whole house.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know why you gotta knock out the refrigerator. If you're trying to knock out the bedroom, just cut that fuse off.
Right. He was just saying that sometimes they're together if it's like a very small.
Oh,
You'd be amazed how American homes are wired.
I see what you're saying.
The bedroom is like 15 rooms down the road, but it's on the same fuse as the fridge that's up here.
I'm with you.
Jimmy, I'm so glad you're popping in now. This is good because A, you're a dad. B, you have a child. How long have you had a diagnosis for your child?
Well, Amy's diagnosis is not that she's autistic.
Okay.
She's actually, her diagnosis is she didn't walk until she was like 2.5.
Mhm.
So she had muscle. So So I guess you would say development delay, and I don't know
Okay.
the difference between saying that she's not autistic
Mhm.
and development delay.
It's usually
but-
just less involved.
and processing is not what it should be.
Mhm.
So we started chelating 3 months ago.
yeah.
Started the
Cool.
biomedical
With Dr. Amy Yasko's
with Dr.
protocol.
Yasko's
Yeah,
protocol.
cool.
And loads of aluminum have come out,
Yeah.
and loads of uranium. Not much mercury and lead though.
Well,
So
you don't know because mercury, at room temperature, is highly volatile, becomes a gas, and so mercury evaporates immediately out of the urine, out of the stool, out of the sweat, and is often not detected with current lab methods, even though it was there when it came out. So never assume that that's true. Yeah,
Right.
aluminum stays there forever in the pee or wherever you look in a poop. Yeah.
okay.
But the mercury immediately, when you have a stool sitting there even for 5 minutes, 90% of the mercury are gone
I'll be
by the
darned.
time you even put a cover on it.
Okay, that's so interesting.
And by the time the lab gets to it, it's all gone.
Right.
Well, obviously
Depending
not
on
in all
how it's
cases.
mobilized.
Right.
If it's mobilized like with chlorella and strong binding agents, it stays in there longer. But if it's mobilized with molecular tricks, that's only mobilization, But so it comes out in the urine and stool, but it's not bound to anything, so it immediately goes up into the air. So the way you want to sometimes do that is buy a mercury vapor detector and stick it to the stool of the baby. You'll be very, very surprised. That's why nobody knows about the mercury, because it's so difficult to trap it, to demonstrate that it's there.
I'll be darned.
But my hunch is if you have huge amounts of aluminum coming out,
Huge.
believe me, there were huge amounts of mercury.
It
with
was off the charts in uranium too,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
arsenic.
And uranium and mercury coexist in nature, like brother and sister. The same forces, compressive and heat forces that shape uranium and gold, also shape mercury. They always coexist together.
Has any of your children ever had real bad gross motor skills? How is that related to the mercury, the toxicity?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
absolutely. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
No, absolutely.
Just depends on where it deposits, right?
It just depends on which part of the brain, if it's the motor cortex or one of the pathways, of the motor nerves. Depends on your genetics very much.
Okay.
You'll probably be much clearer by tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah.
That would explain, Doctor, because right now some of these people they're doing the very aggressive testing protocol that Dr. Buttar has laid out for the TDD-MPS protocol. Haven't been finding mercury, and people are all a buzz about. But that would explain that quite well.
I went
never
through-
heard that.
I went through that discussion when we tried to demonstrate how effective it is to use cilantro, kitchen herb, for detoxification, and all the lab directors and stuff, Dr. Stater, so they were all very aggressively turning against me and saying, Klinghardt, you're out to lunch, nothing comes out. And I said, well, what did you look for? Yeah, well, we looked in the stool, we looked in the pee. I said, well, sorry, that's not where it's coming out. It comes out in the out-breath. You have to stick a mercury detector in the mouth, you give them a dose of cilantro, a few minutes later you measure the out-breath, and then the values go up hundreds of times higher than the upper allowable level by the EPA for indoor air.
Are you giving
Hundreds
them,
of times up,
Are you giving them a tablet of cilantro, liquid cilantro, or the actual herb?
Either the liquid herb or the real herb.
Now, does
Okay.
chlorella have that same sort of?
No,
Where does it come out in chlorella?
stool.
Okay. Because I know in the most recent heavy metal detox position paper by Defeat Autism Now, they had this little one-sentence thing on chlorella and how they weren't suggesting it because the one study that was done could not find any difference in 8 weeks.
Yeah, well, that was David Quigg, who used, first of all, the detection method that didn't work in the stool at the time.
Okay.
And secondly, chlorella is not a mobilizing agent. Unless you mobilize, it's not,
I see.
there's nothing in this, if the gut doesn't have the mercury, you can give all the chlorella in the world, there's no mercury coming out on the other end. But if you have a second agent on board that triggers the mercury release, it gets it from there to the gut, then the chlorella carries it out of the gut and you find huge amounts. And we did that study in Germany that showed it, gave
I'd
it
love to
people,
find those
so-
studies to send to them because right now
Yeah.
they're telling all these parents not to do any form of chlorella, and I think cilantro
Yeah,
too.
well, it's, based on one faulty bad study,
Exactly.
No, it's published under my name,
Okay.
Circa.